my loves, and welcome back again to my YouTube channel. My name is Z, lawyer, YouTuber, and all-around amazing woman. It's 2025, compliments of the season, and I pray that this year brings you so much joy, peace, in health and wealth. I made a post 2 years ago or 3 years ago where I said why the Igbos spend millions building mansions in their villages only to return once in a year. And yes, I got comments like this. Yes, we cleared the air that the Igbos do that because of what happened after the aftermath of the war, where some of the Igbos had to come back to the sad reality of having no place to call home after all they have worked all their lives had been destroyed in the north or the west, right? So the Igbos made the decision that, okay, it's best to have something at home so that if anything happens, you can always have something to fall back on to start off your life. But again, this is 2025. Should we still have that initiative or that mentality we had in the 80s, in the 70s, or even in the early 90s, whereas the world is moving at a pace where you can't keep anything to chance? As rightly noted in the previous video, the rationale for doing that was because of the sad realities a lot of Igbos had faced after the war, where they had nothing to fall back on when they came home. Now, we're in 2025. I don't think it is financially and mentally even wise to even take up that decision. As you are all well aware, the East is saddled with insecurity at the moment. A lot of people who wanted to travel home for Christmas could not do that because of the sad realities we live in. So it means that we had a lot of empty mansions in the village. Take it or leave it, these mansions cost more than most houses in the city, or even in Atlanta, or even abroad. A lot of people spend good money to build homes, mansions in the villages that they only live in once in a year for like a week, 2 weeks max, or even a month. But we also have the eastern part of Nigeria, which is where most of this happens, where we have less industries, less companies, less institutions that are for employment benefits, right, of the masses. Insecurity is often tied to the idleness of the youths, right? Some youths who are greedy, who are idle, who have nothing to do, fall back on these vices to be able to put food on their table. Nobody is justifying this, but all I'm saying is we need to put hands together to be able to fight insecurity, and that's by creating jobs and employment for this youth. And we can only do that by investing adequately in the system, right? We cannot depend on the government alone to do that. We've already seen that the government had failed woefully to be able to do that. Even in countries of the world, even in developed countries of the world, most times find out that private ventures actually do better than government entirely owned entities. So when you have joint ventures between the public sector and the private sector, you have things moving for you, right? So I think that the Igbos should change this mindset, or it's time that we outgrow this mindset that we only need to build houses in the villages because of that. Okay, let's take for instance, something happens again and we go back to square one. You go back to the house or the mansion you've built in the village, and then what? You live there for a year, 2 years. Trust me, your savings are going to run down. You have no factories, no industries, nothing to fall back on, nothing for your children to be employed, nothing for your cousins or anything. I feel like it's time for the Igbos to outgrow that mentality of, oh, we are doing it in case something breaks out and then we have something to fall back on. Whereas we're not even growing the economy of this place, which we want to call home, should push comes to shove. Well, data has it that most of the future billionaires will be people in their 30s, in their 40s, in their 20s because of technology. So I feel like it's time for our youths to think again, right? Our fathers did this, and for me, I didn't see the justification play out or pan out as they thought, right? So if people of my age or people of my generation actually think that we can toe the lines of our fathers, our grandfathers, our ancestors, we'll still get the same results that we're getting today. I think the eastern part of Nigeria is still one of the impoverished part of the world because we're still stuck at where we are in the 90s, right? The development, well, I think we're even worse than what we were in the 90s, because in the 90s we had some factories, some companies running, but currently now in the 20s we can count a few industries that are up and running, right? There used to be like shoe companies, shoe factories. Igbos are known for industrialization, so I don't know why we cannot transform the eastern part of Nigeria into the China that we have, right? The Igbos are known for importation, being the kings or the giants of that industry. Why don't we import all these things here and try to assemble them here? Why don't we bring those factories that we see in China and try to imitate or emulate that? In China, the whole thing is not controlled by the government, although the bulk of the work is being controlled by the government. It saddens me that we see these things and then we just say, okay, that's it. I feel like it's time for us to stir up our minds as youths or as individuals. Our parents have done their bit. They've trained us. They've given us the initiative. They've justified their actions. But if we let posterity think of us in this light, then we have ourselves to blame. I don't think building mansions in the villages should be our priority. I think growing the economy and growing the system, growing the state, growing our environment to be what we want it to be. Because like they say, if push comes to shove, what happens? You stay in your mansion and then what? There's no food, there's no employment, there's nothing. The people that you are scared of will still come into your house, because that's the truth. We have insecurity today because we have a lot of idle minds. We have insecurity today because we have a lot of idle minds. We have a lot of people who are not gainfully employed, who are not engaged, right? So I don't think, well, even if we have the best of technology, even if we have the best of institutions, if we have the best of companies, we'll still have these vices. But I dare say that this will be brought to the barest minimum, where we're able to cater to that using the police and the other security agencies that we have. But I don't think that building mansions in the villages should be what any young person within the age of 30 and above, 30 to 50 right now, should be thinking of doing. I believe that if you have that money to be able to spend, or I would use the term now, waste in the village, I would say invest that into real estate. If you don't want to do the East or Nigeria because of what we see happening with investments in Nigeria, invest that in the diaspora where you have stability of some sort, to be like an investment property. And then whatever dividend you get from that property, you can now use to do that here. Why I would say this is because there seems to be some sort of instability in the real estate. Take, for instance, the coastal road, whatever mess up that's been done, right? Whatever it's that. So that's why a lot of investors are like, we don't see it. We don't see it. I don't see it as well. But then again, all I'm saying, or what the purpose of this video is to spoil your minds, to tell you that we can't go on with that same story that we're just building just in case of incasity, right? We need to be able to grow this area of our community, of our part. Like the Igbos will say, we can't keep towing the lines of our fathers, of our ancestors, because it hasn't yielded as much as we would want it to yield. China did not start the way it is. Take, for instance, Saudi Arabia. The government is doing a lot, right? Saudi Arabia 10 years ago, 20 years ago, is not what it is today. But Saudi Arabia is building and pulling its weight in every sphere of life. In football, they're trying to mark their name. In technology, in tourism, in hospitality, in everything. And that's what I feel like we should be doing as a whole in Nigeria. But we can start from ourselves. Charity, they say, begins at home. So I don't think it's wise to spend millions of naira building a mansion in the village to only visit once a year. There's no return on investment, nothing. Whereas you could channel that money into something else and get good dividend, which you can now use to as spare change to build whatever it is. Besides, we're not in a competition with anybody. Most of the houses that are built in the villages are born out of competition. Onye ka rola kan nwoke, nwa onye ka rola, nwa bia nwoke gi. That competition is what's killing us, right? We don't have the right things to, we're not putting the right things in place first. We're taking step 20 as step 2. No, for me, I feel like build yourself so well that even if you're able to do that. You're not doing it with any money that can shake you. I still feel like there are a lot of companies, there are a lot of industries, there are a lot of factories that are still needed, that can be done, right? There are a lot of things that can be done. I don't know what it is, but I feel like our generation is able to do that. I do not need us to toe the line of our fathers again and just build for in case of incasity. Because at the end of the day, if, for instance, the so-called war breaks out and you come back to the East, you're coming back to your house. And what next? You come back to the house, and what next? So I just feel like this is a time for us to think and re-strategize. I still see most of our young men towing that part again. I don't think it's worth it. For me, rather than say spend, because in my last video I said spend, now I'm calling it a waste, because that's actually what it is if you look at it in the true sense of it. We need to call a spade and catch up with reality. Your competition should not be your cousin, your niece, your nephew. Think of people like the owners of Amazon. Think of Mark himself. These are people who are pulling their weight, who are doing things. The owner of Amazon, what's his name? Jeff, is into everything. I suddenly realized that even the pressure cooker I'm using is a product of Amazon. Prime is a product of Amazon. A lot of things. Like, I need us to catch up. God will help us. So I hope that you understand the purpose of this video. I still know that a lot of people would not get the message of this video and will bash me, but no problem. Those that get it, get it. So till I come away next time, have a pleasant new year. Thanks for watching. That's it, guys. Bye.